couple more in. And Victoria, I'll throw it back to you. I think we're good to
Perfect.
get started.
Awesome. Ooh, perfect. Okay, well, I guess I will start with introducing myself. My name is Victoria. I'm one of the Global Opportunities Consultants here on the Canadian team. Actually, the newest member on the Canadian team. I am a teacher in Ontario. I moved back from teaching in Australia after a year this past December and have been lucky enough to come on full time with the team to help send our educators to both Australia as well as the UK. Olivia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I guess I can do that. Similarly to Victoria, it's really funny. I feel like we're truly two partners in crime over here because I am also we're based in Toronto, also a teacher in Ontario who since left the classroom and started full time as a Canadian recruitment manager here with ANZ UK. Similarly to Victoria as well, I have also taught in Australia. Um, and funny enough, Victoria and I were talking today, and we were like, "Oh, what were we doing? However many years ago today, we were both in Australia at this time." And it's funny enough, this picture always keeps popping up for me. So this is me 5 years ago, actually, in Australia, today to the date. And the picture behind it is Victoria's view a year ago today to the date. She was out in Sydney. So we just wanted to include that there. I'm like, wow, I know it's sunny here in Ontario, but it's definitely not Australia. We love reminiscing about our time. So please, any questions that you might have at the end, feel free to ask about our experiences. We'll try and relate this webinar back to our experiences in Australia. I just came back from the UK as well, visiting some schools out there. So we'll try and include as much of our experience as possible just to help you guys out with making the decision and the jump over.
Absolutely. I always
And
said
I'll
the
pass it
best
back.
the best perk about this job was getting to reshare my stories over and over and over again. So I'm always happy to chat about those. But as far as what we will be talking about today, a bit of an introduction to ANZ UK and the company, going into why move overseas, why teach overseas. The bigger question really being why not. The steps in your journey, the location options. So we will be going over both Australia as well as the UK. What types of work are available, how to get a role, some of the compliance requirements, as well as the community and support that we are able to provide, and then answering any questions that you do have. I know some people will be watching this webinar later on, so we apologize you can't be here to ask us questions, but Olivia and I are always free. So if you do watch the webinar and have some questions, feel free to email us and we're happy to set up a call and answer those.
Exactly.
Amazing. So who is ANZ UK? We are a global organization that helps support educators travel and teach in a new geography. So we've been around for 20 years. We have over 300 staff globally in 21 different offices in Australia, the UK, Canada, New Zealand, as well as Europe. Us here in Canada are supporting all North American educators, regardless of where you're going, whether that is to Australia or the UK. And just a bit more about us and our values. We really run the company with our promise always in mind, that being our Be Great values, belief, equity, growth, relationships, empower, attitude, and team. And we are really creating our whole mindset around creating exceptional experiences for both our educators and then also the students. So placing educators in the right place at the right time, which goes to our slogan, right educator, right place, right time. Our goal is always to put the right teacher in the right classroom every single time so that not only is the educator getting an amazing growth experience, but also all of these students are benefiting from having such an exceptional educator such as yourself. Why teach abroad? Like I said, why not? I could go on for hours and hours and hours about what an incredible experience it is to go and teach abroad. Just to list a few: personal growth, getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that maybe you've always thought about or never thought about, but the opportunity has landed at your feet. Developing some cultural awareness, experience living in another country. It's also phenomenal career development. Overseas teaching is regarded very highly, whether you continue on with a overseas career or are coming back to Canada to work here. You can get references from a principal for future employment, and it can also be very financially rewarding. Finally, and truly one of the best reasons, is the life experience. You can make friends from all over the world. You'll find these cities that you move to are filled with incredible locals as well as expats. Great travel opportunities, the expat community, the educator community. It really is unlike anything else that you will have experienced.
Awesome. I'll take it back over here and get into the work side of things. So we'll split this. We'll talk a little bit about Australia, how to get to Australia, visa requirements, teaching certifications, early childhood opportunities, things of this nature. We'll go back and forth between Australia and the UK. If there's any questions as we're talking, feel free to pop them in the chat, and whoever's not talking, we'll try and answer them as best to our ability as well. And as I said before, we'll make sure that we leave some time at the end too. So work opportunities, um, both in Australia and the UK, CRT, casual relief teaching, which is our supply or substitute here on this side of the world. And this is good if you're looking for some flexibility, you are looking for that work and that travel, that working holiday atmosphere and environment. This is great for you. You can make your own hours, work as little as much as you want. We have different programs that we can get into a little bit better as the webinar goes on, available to you, such as ambassador contracts that we'll be able to offer, which is our guarantee work program. During specific times of the year, which I'll also outline for you, we guarantee you work. So we guarantee you up to 5 days of work a week. If we can't place you in a school, we will pay you for that day. So obviously the goal here is to try and have you place every day, but sometimes, things happen, and we want to make sure that you're supported. Alternatively, and something that's more unique and newer to Australia, is the fixed term contracts and block work. So this is when you will become the substitute or supply teacher of a specific school. Work across grade level, work through different subject area, but you're going to know where you're going every day. So this is a good option for those people who like to know where they're going every day, but still want that flexibility of the CRT or substitute lifestyle. And of course, permanent contracts. This is becoming a more prominent thing. We are actually going to be hosting a webinar on permanent opportunities coming up. So make sure you keep checking out our website for when that's going to be, we're working with a lot of schools right now that can offer some sponsorship for maybe educators who are ineligible for the working holiday visa, or if you're somebody who's looking to go to Australia more permanently or long term, this would be a really great pathway for you. So please let us know if this is something that you're keen on or interested in, and we'll be sure to involve you in that webinar too. I know I always laugh when my face comes up on the screen, but this is actually when I was in the UK recently at one of the educator events, which we'll talk about the community involvement and how social we like to be as well. But before I get too ahead of myself, working holiday visa requirements, this is for Australia specifically. So the working holiday visa is the visa that both Victoria and I went over. It's good for a year, and it's good for Canadians under 35 and US citizens under 31 years old. Again, it's a year. Use it or lose it. Once you have that visa active, you can essentially never get it again in your life. So you want to, fulfill as much of it as you possibly want or need or desire, but just knowing that it is good for 1 year and it's active as soon as you arrive in the country. Some costs there for you. You're looking around $635. Plus, the government wants you to have $5,000 in your bank as savings to prove upon arrival, so your visa can be approved as well. A lot of the visas are being approved overnight, 50% of them actually, and 75% of them within 28 days. So we always say anywhere between 3 and 6 months, let's get this process started. If you're somebody who knows when you want to arrive in Australia, let's get the interview set up and all of those things so we can make sure that we support you with the process and we give yourselves enough time to do so. As promised, the Victorian academic year, we're just going to have a look at Victoria. Across Australia is pretty similar, maybe give or take a day, but we're looking at the state of Victoria for this one. This is this year's calendar. It will look a little bit different for 2025, but again, give or take a couple of days. You want to keep in mind that the school year in Australia, it's flipped. Since it's the Southern Hemisphere, it starts in January, end of January to be exact. 4 terms in a year, and in between each term, there's a 2-week break. So you'll see that laid out for you. This was one of my favorite things about teaching in Australia. I'm sure Victoria can agree was the time off because this is truly where I did all of my traveling. I feel like Australia sets up the school year for you to be able to work and holiday all at the same time. So it's really, really great. I saw so much of the country during these times. Honestly, probably why I was away. I think, yeah, probably a term break at this point last year too, or 5 years ago. Oh my God. But when we were talking about the ambassador contracts, terms two and terms three, we're guaranteeing you work. Term one, we can guarantee you up to 5 days. You might not get the full 5 days because just like even here, at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, there might not be work every single day. We're hoping that teachers are starting with their students and starting in their classrooms and not sick or off at the beginning of the years. But that's where, the block work and the contracts can come into if you're somebody who's interested in that. But just a visual, we will send all of this in a pack once you register as well. So don't feel like you have to memorize any of this information by any means right now. Each state in Victoria too, and this is something to keep in mind, which is why we're going to go through it this way. So differently to the UK, in Australia, you have to register to teach as a state by state basis. So I would say we probably send about 85% of our candidates and educators to the state of Victoria. This is where Victoria and I both lived. We lived in Melbourne. um, and you can get your teaching certification approved while you're still in North America. So this is a huge perk of going to Victoria. Much work to go around. CRT work is available as well as those block work contracts, longer term contracts as well as permanent. We can pretty much get you what you're looking for in Victoria and know, like I said before, you can get your teaching certification approved in advance here. It takes anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. The VIT like to be little buggers sometimes, but that's okay. That's why we're here to help support this process. But ultimately, it is their decision to qualify you as an educator or not. So that's why we'll go through all of the steps and the process properly to make sure that you do qualify before we send you off this way. Now, registering in New South Wales is similar, but a little bit different in the sense that you actually have to be in Australia in order to apply. So if you're somebody who wants to arrive in Australia and do a little bit of traveling, maybe this is a good pathway for you. If you're somebody who wants to arrive in Australia and start working right away because you want to make that money, I don't blame you. Maybe another state would be the best option for you. So this is just because they would like you to be in person to get your working with children's check and all of those sorts of things done. We will again, we have a team based in Sydney who can support you on this journey. CRT work and contracts are available, not too much permanent opportunity here. So things like sponsorship aren't really an opportunity here outside of rural environments. If you're somebody who's interested in rural, we'll get into it a little bit later as well, but do let us know because we'll be able to support that. But again, keeping in mind, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We like to say 6 weeks to be on the safe side. So if you're someone who's in a situation, your heart is calling you to Sydney, that's where you want to be. We can support that, but just know that you're not going to be working for up to 6 weeks upon arrival. And Queensland, I like to say Queensland is the most challenging. It's our challenging sister over there in Australia, but we are able to support some educators in arriving. Again, you can apply for this teaching certification while you are on the ground here in North America. You don't have to be in Australia. However, the only things that we're looking at in Queensland are contracts. So their CRT and their substitute work, it's not available. It's actually, run by the state of Queensland. But again, if you have family or if you have friends or something's calling you to Queensland, let's have that conversation and discussion to see how we can support you in making your journey over there. And as promised, teaching in rural settings. I love that kangaroo. It's one of my favorite pictures on these slides. Lots of work available here. So if you are somebody who, doesn't really need to be in the big city, wants more of a rural experience, that Aussie outback lifestyle, this is definitely for you. Plus, there's lots of incentives that can be put in place. These are ever changing. So we would always follow what the government has in place for that. So making sure that you are asking those questions if you're interested in this route, because like I said, things are ever changing, but sometimes things like accommodations are covered, as well as different pay sliding scales and rates. So you'll notice that teaching in rural settings comes with a pretty penny. So we can get you some contracts. These are the remunerations that we're looking at right now for some of these contracts of permanent opportunities. But again, we can get more into this when we run our permanent webinar in a couple of weeks. And again, I know I touched a little bit on the incentives, but there are a lot of incentives with working in rural settings. Small schools, big hearts. I know a lot of people that we talk to is you really yearning and looking for that community because let's face it, we're picking up our life and moving to the other side of the world where we may or may not know people. So to find that community aspect, rural is the way to go as well. You'll be living, within close quarters with other educators at times based on the incentives. So if this is something that you're interested in, like I said, please, please, please let us know. You're going to be getting the true Aussie experience here. So maybe make sure we have no fears of spiders first, because I think
I
we're
was
going to see
thinking the
some spiders.
exact same thing, Olivia.
But this is perfect timing, so I can throw it right back to Victoria now.
You know what? I will just quickly piggyback off
Tell
that
me.
point. For those who are thinking about moving to Australia, Melbourne specifically, but are scared of spiders, Melbourne gets a little cold in the winter. I will say that it's true. However, because of this change of temperature, not nearly as many deadly animals as you're getting up in Queensland. So I always put it in the pros column. It's a selling point for Melbourne for me.
It is so true. Except
All right.
once there was a big huntsman spider in one of the schools that I was in, but that's
Oh,
a story for a later time.
yeah, that's okay. Neither here nor there. All right, let's talk teaching in the UK. If you hate spiders, maybe the UK is a better spot for you. So we'll go over a few of the different location options that we have. The UK is an incredible place to get to live in, even though it is so much smaller geographically. There is such a range of experiences and cities that you can live in. We have got a huge team in London, so regardless of what quadrant of the city you are looking to live in, we've got a team located there. We also have a team in beautiful Surrey, just a little bit outside of London if you want that lower cost of living while still being just a tube ride away from the downtown core. Cardiff, Wales, an incredible, incredible spot if you are looking to explore Wales, a kind of underrated gem. We also have Bristol as well as Southampton, also two beautiful, beautiful spots.
Amazing. And I can definitely attest because I was able to visit some schools in all of these areas. And depending on what it is that you're looking for, we can be able to support that as well. And Victoria, you nailed it with Surrey just being right outside of London, but still having, that green-esque vibe. And I'll tell you, it was really hot in the UK when I was there. So it doesn't rain all the time, but you might need an umbrella
I would get one. Get one just in case.
just in case.
All right, let's talk about the visa requirements. So most of our educators are going to be going over on the youth mobility scheme. Similar to Australia, this visa is available up until your 36th birthday. So as long as you apply before then, we typically ask about 6 months to apply before arrival. The processing time is taking about 3 to 10 weeks, and it is an automatic 2-year visa. So you get those 2 years straight off the bat. And then once you're there, if you want to apply for a third year, you can apply for that third year as well. So living up to 3 years, which is amazing for us Canadians. When it does come to the cost, the application cost is about $500. There is a bit of a larger fee which comes in with the immigration healthcare surcharge. So this is essentially you're paying to access the healthcare services that the NHS provides. So you're covered the same way that British citizens are covered. So phenomenal resource if you are someone who has some health issues or just want that peace of mind to have the healthcare coverage. You're paying into their healthcare system, and that comes automatically for the 2 years with your visa. We also have an in-house visa support team that can help you with the visa, which is a great option. We don't go into them on this slide, but we can absolutely chat with you. There are a few other visa options, including a high potential visa. If you went to McGill, UBC, U of T, depending on the years, that visa is an option for you. They also have great ancestral visas. So if any of your parents or even a grandparent came from the UK at all, that can be another option that we can look into. Okay, best time to arrive. So the UK school year is set out more similarly to Canada in that they are starting in that first week in September. They're broken into 3 terms as well. They also love their breaks. It seems to me that Canada is the only country that is not maximizing on our holidays here, but they do get a week off for every half term as well as a week between their terms. So you'll see here where the darker colors are, they get 1 week break midterm and then another week break towards the end. The biggest difference with the Canadian school year is they do run later into the year. So they're running towards the end of July. They actually just broke for summer about 2 weeks ago. Um, so great to know if you're moving over. Similar to what Olivia said about the Australian school year, there's no bad time to arrive per se. If you're looking to get a contract from the beginning of the year, September is great. If you are looking to do some day-to-day supply work, the spring term in here where it's purple is going to be the bulk of the work when teachers are, taking holidays or off sick or what have you. So really great times to arrive all throughout the year, depending on what you're looking for. That was kind of it for the UK, so I'll just quickly talk a little bit more as far as work goes. There are so many options with the UK. Like Olivia talked about the work opportunities, whether it's contracts or block work or day-to-day supply work, that is going to be available in these cities. The other phenomenal thing with the UK is there is more availability for longer term contracts. So even if you are a new teacher and you want to experience your own classroom, let's say from September to the end of July, that's absolutely something that we are able to help you with. So you can feel free to contact us. We can get your resume out to different schools, match you up with a school that meets your needs, is looking for the expertise that you provide. So great options, regardless if you're looking for contract or just day-to-day supply work.
Definitely. And we are constantly hiring for those permanent contracts, just like Victoria was mentioning there. I was fortunate enough actually to visit some schools out in the UK as well and visit some principals who were hiring for these roles. And I can say that it was an amazing experience. And there was one, oh my gosh, it was a drama class that I'm like, oh, I'm a drama teacher. I'm thinking of no, here I am back in Canada helping you guys get overseas, definitely. But so many options, like I said, in the UK, and a huge perk of going that way is that Europe is at your doorstep. I know when I was over there, I got a flight to Italy for $36, and I honestly, I don't even think I can get an Uber in Toronto for cheaper than that these days. So I was really grateful for that cheap flight. Um, and then I got to see literally Italy overnight. So you can really be in a new demographic in a new place within a couple of hours. And that train, you can even take a train now from the UK to France, which I think it's incredible. So if you're somebody who has that travel bug about you, don't sleep on the UK. Honestly, so many amazing opportunities that are there for you as well. And if you're somebody or anything like Victoria or I, why not try teaching in all of the places? We can get you out to Australia. We can get you to the UK. Just because you use a visa in one place doesn't mean you can't get a visa in another. So if you know that you're going to be a global traveler or a global teacher and that's something that you are looking forward to do, let us know. We can see what programs we can set out as well. My favorite part I think about ANZ UK, and honestly, I've met so many of my closest friends. It took me going to Australia to meet some of my best friends from Toronto in Melbourne, believe it or not. But it's our community and events. So we have a massive community. We have a massive community on Facebook. We'll invite you to different groups there so that you can virtually already start meeting other educators and, ask questions and just know that you have somebody on the ground there for when you arrive. Your consultant, as well as Victoria was mentioning, becomes your consultant for the entire time that you're either in Australia or you're either in the UK or wherever you choose to go. And they'll support you, not only in, placing you in the classroom, but if you want to know where to go out for dinner or the best place in town, ask them. They live there. They're the best people to ask, definitely what you want to do on the weekend, and they'll be more than glad to, help the fun side of things as well. We're not here to just put you in classrooms. That's first and foremost, but we want to make sure that you have a proper and good community around you as well, so you nobody is ever feeling alone. It's a big, big move. We know we did it. Lots of anxiety surrounding that, but it gave me so much peace of mind knowing that the team was there on the ground and that I would be meeting them only a few days after my arrival. I was fortunate enough actually to attend one of the global events in London, as well as Wales, as well as Surrey, as well as Bristol. So I went to them all, met a lot of educators, so many Canadians out there already. So it was really, really great to hear about their experience and then see some of them in action in the classrooms when we did some school visits. So always check out on our Facebook groups. We have one called Educators Moving to the UK and another one called Educators Moving to Australia. So please search those up. If you can't find them, flip Victoria or I an email and we'll be happy to invite you to those groups. So we're actually hosting an event. Maybe this is a good time to mention. If you're in the Toronto area, we are hosting an event upcoming. So please check out our website for more information on that. Finding somewhere to live. We are making our way through this webinar. There's always such a big question that we get from educators. Well, that's great. You can get us to these places. Now, what am I supposed to do when I get there and where am I supposed to live? We won't find you housing. However, we will point you in all the right directions to do so. Your consultant would be another great resource to suggest areas to live. They're going to suggest areas to live not only because they're beautiful and amazing, but also because those are the areas that will get you to and from the schools easily. Unlike Canada, and I can confidently say this, the public transit system in both Australia and the UK is phenomenal, and it can get you to and from work on a daily basis. Obviously, when we're looking more into the rural settings, there's not that much public transit out that way, so maybe a car might be on your horizon for that. However, connecting with educators on Facebook is another way to, find these things that you might need when you arrive. Somebody was just recently selling a car in Australia. So if that's something that you need, our community can also support you with that. But Facebook is another great place to have a look to see what is available, as well as any sort of real estate property managing group. However, we say this to every educator, do not sign any leases or strike any contracts or deals or anything like that until you've actually gone and seen the place. We recommend that our educators, maybe you can stay in an Airbnb at the beginning just to get settled, a hostel, hotels, any short-term accommodation just to get yourself settled and situated and start viewing some apartments and meeting some landlords and things like that. But please do not sign any contracts until you actually arrive because scammers are getting good these days and we don't want you to be in any situations where you've put a massive security deposit down on something that doesn't actually exist. You'll find somewhere to live. You're not the only people in the same boat. So many educators are moving across just like you, and you might meet somebody that you want to live with. Um, Again, finding somewhere to live while you're out there. You might want to look into some share houses. It's a big thing overseas, where you're meeting other professionals who are global. Maybe they're teachers, maybe they're not, and you can live in homes with your own bedroom and things like that. That's available to you. So again, talk to your consultant about this. Getting around, public transit is going to be your best friend. We'll explain to you the different passes once we get there as well. Bike, good investment. So many people bike. Australia and Melbourne specifically, you might need some special helmets during swooping season. It's a real thing. Maybe I'm giving you a hint on our moving to Melbourne trivia right now, but swooping season, birds come down. Different things happen in Australia, but a bike is always a really great option and by foot. I walked so many places. I loved knowing that I had a local grocery store that I could walk to and all of these things. Those were the things that were important to me when I was trying to find somewhere to live. And again, we'll support you with different area guides just to paint the picture of what this could look like for you in the different areas that exist. Because Melbourne specifically too, each suburb is so different and you can really, really find, your place. And then now throw it back to Victoria for the process, all the paperwork. But don't stress.
Awesome.
That's why we're here.
Perfect. Yeah, I know. I always say this. I always feel like we're throwing a lot of information, but the reason that we're here is to break this down step by step. So this is a great jumping off point, but from here, where do you go? So it's first contact. That's going to be with myself or Olivia. We've also got 3 other great members on our Canadian team who are available for these chats as well. We'll go over, the visas, how to get your teaching license set up, answer any initial questions that you may have. From there, we would also have an interview with you. Interview is formal, but we really just want to understand what your experience is, what your qualifications are, and what your dream roles are. What are you hoping to get out of this experience? Do you want the day-to-day work? Do you want the contract? Where do you want to live? All of that stuff. Once you've done that, you register to join our Canadian team of educators, and we will get you in connection with the local teams abroad. Local teams abroad is a tricky conversation, but just with either the teams in UK or Australia, they're going to do any compliance checks. So like I said, we have an in-house support team for the UK to help you with your visa. The Australian visa is not too tricky, but we also have an in-house member to help with questions towards the teaching certificate and all the things you need. From there, you will hear from a local consultant in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK. They'll schedule an in-person meeting for once you arrive in this country to actually go in the office, get to meet them. They'll get you set up. We use an app for all of our work stuff, so they'll get you onto the app, get everything that you need organized so that you are ready to go and work and answer any questions that you may have as you are in this new country. Once you have that, you're going to be clear for work. So you'll have registered with them. All the paperwork is complete. Any checks that are necessary, like working with children, will be complete and you'll be cleared for work. And finally, step 6, you're in the classroom. So the support does not end once you begin teaching. We offer PD sessions throughout the year, as well as social events that we encourage you to always take advantage of. It's a phenomenal way to meet some other educators, and just mingle and get the best experience that you possibly can get. All right. Finally, why teach and travel with ANZUK UK? Number 1, support from across the globe. Whether you are in Canada or have arrived on destination, there is a local team there to help you answer all of your questions. Everyone on our Canadian team are teachers. We've all done it ourselves, so we've all been in your exact shoes. We understand all the questions. We understand where you're coming from, so we are happy to help go over those. And then we have amazing consultants on the ground to help you with any questions in their home country. We have our visa services, which are going to be immensely helpful with any questions that you have getting things set up. Our events we've talked about, we host regular social events both here in Canada and on the ground, whether you're in the UK or in Australia. Phenomenal way to get to meet some new people and other educators. We also have our technology. As I said, everything gets done on an app. It's a really well created app that you can use on your computer or on your phone to manage your day-to-day work. And book in PD sessions, upload your certifications. It just makes getting all of your work so streamlined and so easy. We also have affiliation. So we partner with a number of travel groups. We partner with Kentucky, which is a very, very popular one throughout Europe. So if you are going to teach in the UK and want to take a little Kentucky trip, you can get a bit of a discount through ANZ UK. Also, if you're looking for a footy club, netball team, cheap holiday, you can let us know. We have great affiliations. We're happy to share those with you. Finally, resources and guides. This is a huge move. We understand that. So we have tried to create as many resources and guides that you can read through and watch to help organize your bank accounts, your insurance numbers, what area to live in, and really try and answer all of those questions as we can. And on that note, I think it'll bring us to, next steps. Just kidding. I was a step ahead. Next steps in your journey. We loved this. We'll handle the boring stuff so you can focus on the fun stuff. Like I just said, it is a huge move. We totally understand that. But more importantly, it is so fun and it is so exciting. And you will have the absolute time of a lifetime? What am I saying here? You'll have a great time.
The time of your life.
The time of your life. Thank you,
Olivia. The time of your life. That's it.
This is why we need 2 of us. This is why we need 2 of us on here. You will have the time of your life, and we are here to help with all of the boring background stuff that has to get done. I'm sure you all know as teachers that we have to have a high level of compliance. We're working with children, so obviously that's very important. So we're here to make sure that all of that gets done so that you can enjoy and move to an incredible country, have a great time. So to get started, we do ask for an up-to-date resume with all of your recent teaching experience. just a headshot, and then your references. We don't run these references until you do register with us, so we're not contacting them ahead of time. But you can send us that information, and then we're happy to set up a call and go over all of this information, answer any more questions that you do have. Perfect.
And maybe we got to the slide that you thought we were going to get to already.
This was the one I was thinking of. On that note, if there are any questions, like I said, if you are watching this at home and have questions, please feel free to send us an email. We're happy to jump on another call. But if anyone has any questions, we're happy to go over those.
If not, make sure you do follow us on Instagram. We are constantly posting and updating our platform with some relevant information, upcoming events, upcoming webinars, and just stories from other. Whoa, I just
It's
glitched
rubbing
out.
off. It's rubbing off on
Victoria, what have you
you.
done?
I'm
From other
sorry.
educators just like yourselves, because sometimes it's nice to hear from somebody else's experience as well. So we have a whole section set out to blogs. I've written one, Victoria's written one, our friends have written one. So please have a read of there. You can learn about others' experiences. Follow us on Instagram. If you're in Toronto, come to the event. Definitely let us know that I'm just seeing Bryn's message come through
I
and
know,
getting
so nice.
distracted. Thanks, Bryn. Um, let us know if you're in Toronto. Please come out to the event. We're doing a sip and sweat, Pilates, and beer garden situation afterwards. So please come out, join us, meet other educators who are making the journey. And yeah, we can't wait to get this process started with you and get you wherever it is in the world you like to go.
Absolutely. If you're not in the GTA and are in Vancouver, we are also heading there in September and would love to meet you. If you are not in Vancouver or in Toronto, please let us know where you are. We are always traveling around and we would love to get to meet as many educators in person as possible.
Absolutely, Victoria. Well, there's no other questions. I don't think that there are. Maybe we just did that good of a job, Victoria. I don't know. This recording will be available probably by tomorrow. Check your inboxes, and we're looking forward to setting up calls. Let's get you
Thanks, Olivia.
away. See you guys later. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.